Chapter 9. Karima didn't come that night. He lay on his bed in an alcoholic stupor, imagining the absent lovemaking, trying to quench his lust. It was past midnight and still no Karima. She had never missed a night in his arms before. He kept a constant vigil all night, gradually losing all hope of her turning up. The dawn prayer announced the end of his hopeless wait. He slept for a few hours and woke up at 10. As Sabir breakfasted in the lounge, he watched the old man chat with the doorman. When will he wake up and find the old man not at his desk? How was he going to ask Karima about her absence last night? A heated argument broke out between the two of the residents. He watched the vigorous gesticulations and the empty threats. Intensely annoyed, he got up and walked out of the hotel. At lunch, Ilham looked serious. He felt much better than he had earlier. He always did when he saw her. Our meeting every day is the only meaningful thing in my life, he told her with happiness clearly ringing in his voice. I don't cease to think about us, she said, looking at him with love and tenderness in her eyes. He felt a tightness in his chest at her innocent attempts to capture him. He felt annoyed at the nightly defeats Ilham suffered at the hands of her powerful enemy. I am glad to hear that. Me too. I think of nothing else. Tell me then, she said coyly. I think of work and marriage. So you're finally convinced by my suggestion? Yes, but first I must finish my mission here, one way or the other. Then I'll leave and make arrangements with my father. He despised himself for his lies. How he wished he could confess all, come what may. The dilemma was something totally novel to him, a constant torment. Let's go to the cinema, he said almost desperately. They held hands in the dark, always in the dark, but he felt at peace and kissed her hand. The gentle, intoxicating whiff of her perfume stirred his passions. He remembered the torture that lay in store for him at night. Karima. Desperately he tried to obliterate the thoughts. How cruel, whispered Ilham, referring to the scene from the film. He wasn't following, so he quickly said, One moment away from you is far more cruel. He watched the scene unfolding on the screen. A man was abusing a girl. The dialogue to him was disjointed and meaningless, just like watching people's lives out of context, detached, disinterested. We laugh when tears are called for and cry when we are supposed to laugh. Your search for your father, for example, must appear amusing to people reading the advertisement. Will Karima come tonight? Is it going to be another night of agony and torture? He watched Ilham's face. She was following the film intently. He tried slipping his hand out of hers, but she clung tightly to it. They walked to the bus stop. She got on and he stood for a moment watching the bus disappear around the corner. He walked to the grocer next to the hotel, ordered a sardine and pastrami sandwich and washed it down with half a bottle of brandy. The vigil in his room began shortly after midnight. Oh, the humiliation he suffered. Never before had he felt like this. A hungry fear, fear of futile search, fear of fear itself. The night passed slowly and no Karima. There she was the following afternoon, sitting next to her husband, just as he had seen her the first time. She avoided his long, hungry look as he sat in the lounge. She didn't know the madness of his passion, or she wouldn't provoke him so. She got up and went upstairs. As their eyes met for a moment, there was a clear warning in her glance. What does her look mean? The old man hadn't changed in his behavior toward her. He was too old to hide his emotions. Sabir thought of following her, but as though she had read his thoughts, she raced up the stairs. His money was running out. The search had become nothing more than a meaningless farce. The nights followed in the same monotonous pattern. A meal and heavy drinking, hope by midnight, waiting in the dark, night after night. Someone called you today, said the doorman one evening as Sabir returned, drunk as usual. The telephone, its ring lacked the excitement and anticipation it had had previously, but still a miracle could always occur. A woman's voice, continued the doorman, noticing Sabir's indifference. Concerning the advertisement? No, she just asked if you were here. Ilham. He had not seen her for a couple of days. His mood was such. He lay in the dark, a knock on the door. He jumped up like a maniac, opened the door, and dragged her violently inside. You! He almost screamed out. He pulled her savagely toward the bed, unable to contain his passion. You! Damn you, you devil! You're tearing my skin, she cried. You tore my nerves. What about me? Don't you know how I felt? He tried to tear off her gown, but she struggled. No, no, don't. It's dangerous. I've got to tell you something, then I must leave. The devil himself can save you now, he snarled. Shut up! You're drunk. One false move and you'll spoil everything. He sat her down on the bed. What happened? When I returned to my flat the last time I was here, he was awake. I made the usual excuses for being out of the room, but I think Ali Sirakus, the porter, saw me. I'm not sure, but I'm very scared. You're imagining things. Perhaps, and perhaps not. We can't risk it. We'll lose everything. Love, hope, our future. One word from him will condemn us to eternal poverty and misery. Don't you ever forget that. She sighed heavily, then continued, That's why I stopped coming to you. I obviously couldn't explain to you before. I imagined your torture through mine, but my husband has given me all his wealth only on the condition that I'm absolutely faithful to him. He told me I'm his hands, eyes, daughter, wife, in fact, everything. I must be true to him during his few remaining days. Then what are we going to do? I must stop coming here. But this is madness, he growled. This is the only sane thing to do. How long must I wait? Till when? I don't know, she sighed. My money will run out and I'll have to leave. I can give you some to keep you here as long as possible. That won't change the inevitable. I know, but what can we do? I'm suffering just as you are. My plight is worse. I am threatened with torture and poverty. I'm suffering for both of us. Why can't you realize this? When will the old man die? He muttered to himself. Do you think I know? I'm not a clairvoyant. Then what are you? He snapped. An unhappy woman, unhappier than you can imagine. Maybe death will answer our call and he'll die suddenly. Maybe. He's an old man. He can't live forever. He might die tonight or in 20 years' time. His elder sister died 2 years ago, she said with a sigh. Dawn, the cock crowing, the muezzin calling the faithful to prayer. There's nothing we can do. I must go. I won't see you unless he dies. There's nothing we can do. There is, he said forcefully. The silence was deafening. He continued, We've so far spoken in riddles in the dark. We are going to speak frankly now. I must kill him. Her body trembled and so did her voice. You don't really believe what you're saying. I'm not cruel or savage. My only fault is that I love you beyond measure. We must wait. So that he lives as long as his sister? He retorted with contempt. Or whenever the Almighty decides. He had already decided. His blood was boiling and he felt hot despite his nakedness and the cool winter night. He paced the room furiously. "What happens after the crime?" he asked in a matter-of-fact tone of voice. She was silent. The darkness was oppressive. "Don't waste time," he snapped. "What happens after the crime?" She gasped slightly as though choking over words. Then very softly she said, "We wait a while. We can meet secretly. Then I'll be yours, me and the money." He clenched his fists. "We have no choice. Desperation has driven us to this." "Yes, unfortunately that's true." "How must we set about it?" he asked. She replied, quicker than he expected, "Study the neighboring building carefully." So, she got everything planned, but never mind, it's all because of her love for me. The apartment opposite the hotel is used as a second-hand clothing store. It's always empty at night, and is easily accessible. The roof of the building and our roof adjoin, she continued in a hushed voice. You can cross over to our side easily. You must wait for him in the flat. He comes up at about 8:30, 9? Asked Saber. Yes, choose a date when I go to visit my mother. I go regularly once a month. Incredible that I've been here almost a month already, he said. You can then cross back to the other roof and leave the building without anyone noticing you. His voice trembled slightly as he said, We often hear of such crimes after they're discovered. Coldly, she replied, but we never hear of those that are not discovered. She was just like his mother, utterly ruthless. Is there anything else we haven't covered? He asked. Yes, you must steal something as a motive for the crime. What shall I steal? Leave that to me, but be sure to leave no traces. I'd better be careful, hadn't I? He muttered. Our lives are now bound together. Should anything happen to you, it will also be my fate. We have no other choice. He shook his head as if he couldn't believe the entire conversation. Madness. Madness. Do you think all this will really happen? Study the building carefully. Make sure no one sees you. There are a few days left before I go to my mother. You've got the gut it takes. Now let's go over it once again, step by step. He was not listening, lost in deep, dark thoughts. Chapter 10. He breakfasted on eggs, cheese, fruit, and a glass of milk. He watched the other guests in the lounge. Look carefully at them. In a short while, a vast chasm will separate you from them. When night falls, you are going to sign a bloody pact as your gateway to crime. There goes old man Khalil, facing the cold morning, his hand trembling unceasingly, not thinking of death. Your life will end at 10 this evening. You don't know that, but I do. Take the advice of one who has lost hope. Don't bother about trivial matters any longer. I share with God the realm of the unknown. The telephone rang. Saber laughed audibly. Was that his father ringing at the 11th hour? Muhammad Al-Sawi answered. No, you've got the wrong number. No, and no to you, Sayyid Al-Rahimi. You have denied your son, and now your son denies you. Your son will seek freedom, honor, and peace of mind somewhere else. Don't yawn, Khalil. Soon you'll sleep forever. Why do you persist in following an inevitable destiny? Explain to me what it all means. I, your killer, will enjoy your fortune. My mother sunk to the lowest depths. My father mercilessly silent. My hopes dependent on destruction. Explain all this. What is it all about? A week has passed and I think of nothing but the crime. How different were my dreams as the train left Alexandria. These other men, the guests, have none of them committed a crime? All this talk of money, war, luck, will it never cease? They predict the future and yet are so ignorant about what is going to happen right here under their noses. Sabir left the hotel at 10, nodding to Khalil on his way out. I left the hotel at 10 and didn't return till 1 in the morning, he kept repeating to himself. He looked at the entrance of the neighboring building, like a teeming marketplace, people going in and out. The roof was empty and no other overlooked it. It would get dark after 5. He thought of visiting Ilham, but the idea was crowded out by his immediate thoughts. He couldn't bear to talk to her while he was contemplating blood. What was he going to tell her before he left her forever? He passed the newspaper building, and an overwhelming sadness descended upon him. He remembered their meetings, her concern over his problem, his inability to match her love. He killed time by walking aimlessly, had lunch at the grocery in Clot Bay Street, and washed it down with a couple of brandies. "Terrible weather," said the grocer. "I am a criminal descended from criminals," he cried out as he left the shop. The grocer laughed. Brandy does strange things to people. He suddenly decided that he must see Ilham. She was not at the cafe. The waiter told him that she had left immediately after lunch. His sudden desire to see her waned. He waited until 5 o'clock and then walked back to the arcaded street, standing in the darkness opposite the entrance to the building adjoining the hotel. The beggar was singing loudly, as usual. He noticed the doorman of the building busy in conversation with his street vendor. He took this opportunity to cross the street and enter the building. It was crowded with people. Many faces fell upon him, but none saw him. He looked at every face carefully to check whether any of the hotel guests were in the building for one reason or another. He finally reached the roof. It was light enough to see that the roof was deserted. He looked around and saw that no other building overlooked it. His eyes rested on the hotel roof. Karima was there gathering the washing from the line. The sudden sight of her shook him. She must have been waiting for him. Maybe she had even watched him cross the street and enter the building. She beckoned to him to approach. He did. Seeing her renewed his determination to carry out his task. "Did anyone see you?" she asked, turning her back to him. "No, no one. Ali Syracuse is downstairs. I'll wait at the top of the stairs until you cross over." She left with the washing and disappeared around the corner. He waited a moment, looked around him, then jumped onto the hotel roof. He proceeded cautiously until he arrived at the door of the apartment. "The door's open. Come in," she whispered. He took a deep breath and entered, finding himself in a darkened hall. She joined him, closing the door behind her, and switched the light on. Her eyes were sparkling, but her face was deathly pale. Gone were her seductive looks. They hugged, nervously and without passion, looking at each other with some bewilderment, like two frightened, lost children. "Any slip up and we're lost," he said. "Get a hold of yourself," she said. "No one suspects a thing. Everything will turn out the way we planned it." She took him through the flat. The hall led into a large bedroom with an adjoining door to a smaller dining room. He glanced at the furniture in the bedroom. The large bed, the sofa, the Turkish divan, all seemed to stare at him with disinterested eyes. He was about to tell her his feelings, then thought better of it. "What an ugly room," he said instead. She seemed to recover from the tension of the moment. "Yes, you must hide here in the bedroom. The moment you hear the front door, get under the bed." "Is it a wooden floor?" "Yes, it's carpeted all over." "He'll close the front door?" "Yes. Sawi takes him up, especially when I'm away. He locks the door himself and leaves the key either in the lock or on the table. Here, you unlock it and leave." "I might meet someone else on the roof." "No. Syracuse, the porter, retires after my husband comes up. His room is on the 3rd floor." They'll ask how the windows will be closed, so either he forgot to lock the door after Sawi left or someone else knocked and he opened the door, she said quickly. Is it possible that he'd opened the door to someone without asking who it was? Maybe he heard a familiar voice. Then suspicion will fall on those he knows in the hotel. Coldly and impatiently, she answered, They won't pin it on an innocent person. The important thing is that you get away. She pointed to her handbag. I have taken the money and some jewelry. I opened the cupboard with a knife and threw some clothes on the floor. Did you get gloves? Yes. Very good. Here's the iron bar. She pointed to the table in the middle of the room. Don't touch it without your gloves on, and be careful not to drop anything under the bed. Her face seemed even paler, contrasted with her glittering eyes. I must go, she said. They embraced. Stay for a while, he pleaded, clinging to her. No, I must go. Have you forgotten anything? Pluck up your courage and act calmly and... What? She gave him a strange, distant look. Nothing, she whispered. Get under the bed. They embraced a third time. She broke away quickly and left him, calling loudly for Ali Syracuse. Quickly he hid under the bed. Karima returned with the servant and told him to close the windows. She waited until he had done so, then switched off the lights and left the room. Sabir got out from under the bed. It was pitch black. He put on his gloves and groped toward the table and found the bar. He gripped it firmly and crossed the room and sat down on the edge of the bed. Nothing else existed at the moment, just the feel of the bed, the smell of her perfume, and the crescendo of the silence. No escape now. One death-dealing blow. One blow is better than all this endless waiting and futile searching. Karima's love, like a thin cloud and yet more dangerous than the task he was about to perform. The beggar was still chanting away. Did he ever stop? It was a lost call, just like the advertisement and his mother's wealth and those days of long ago. When would he see Karima again, embraced passionately and safely? He heard the servant Syracuse humming softly on the roof, then silence and darkness. After what seemed an eternity, he heard the key turn in the lock. He quickly crawled under the bed. Footsteps approached. The door opened, and the room flooded with light. He could scarcely breathe, and he thought that his heartbeats could be heard a mile away. 6 feet appeared to him. The old man was saying, You can go now, Ali, but don't forget the plumber. 2 feet disappeared. Khalil sat on the edge of the bed, his feet a mere 2 inches from Sabir's face. I'll meet him tomorrow, but I won't stand for any nonsense, Khalil said. Yes, I agree, said Sawi the doorman. He's a cunning devil. He came close to death 4 times and he still hasn't learned his lesson. You are a generous man, master. After a short silence, Sawi asked, May I leave you now, Mr. Khalil? No, stay a while. My back is aching and I have a terrible headache. How long will he stay? Will he spend the night with the old man? Sabir shuddered at the thought. Khalil was busy saying his prayers. How appropriate. When he had finished, he said, Help me with my robe and shoes, Sawi. Rustling and movement. Get me my sleeping tablets from the drawer. Where is that drawer? If it was in the cupboard, the fake theft would be discovered. He held his breath in anticipation. He breathed again when he heard the old man drink water, swallowing the tablet. Then he felt Khalil lie on the bed and pull the covers around him. Sawi, I can't get up. Lock the door and open it at the usual time tomorrow morning. Good night. Darkness, then the dim light of a small lamp. You will find your master a corpse tomorrow morning. How did the killer enter? How will he escape afterward? The window. the one overlooking the roof. How will they reconstruct the crime? He was going to explode with tension and fear. All these thoughts, all this planning, you must carry it out. You must. Your heartbeats are deafening. You can't think. Will he fall asleep before I explode? Snoring, just like his mother on her last night. The death shroud, the weeping skies in Alexandria. Forget that now. He crawled out from under the bed. He stood up, gripping the bar firmly in his gloved hand. Khalil was hidden under the bedclothes. Only his head showed slightly under the pillow. He felt better at not seeing his face. He approached with renewed courage. He raised the bar. Suddenly the old man turned restlessly. Sabir stood rooted in his place, arm raised, bar above his head. The old man opened his eyes. Their eyes met. No sign of recognition in Khalil's eyes. Sabir realized his plight and brought his arm crashing down. He was taken aback by the fantastic force of the blow and the sickening sound of the impact. The old man uttered one soft cry, then a whimper, then silence. The body shuddered once violently, then was still. Sabir didn't bother to make sure he was dead. He rushed to the window, opened it, looked out, and jumped quickly onto the roof, closing the window behind him. Was the iron bar soaked with blood? Was the roof deserted? What time was it? He crossed the roof. Why didn't he wash the bar in the bathroom? Should he throw it from the roof of the building? That would be idiotic. He heard voices on the stairs. He looked over the banister. The third floor was dark, but the light shone on the second floor. He wiped the bar with his left glove, then slowly went down the stairs. He came to the second floor. The light was shining from an open apartment. 3 men came out and followed him down the stairs. He slowed down until they passed him. He came to the ground floor and left the building with the 3 men as though he were one of them. He noticed the doorman of the building sitting in his small room by the entrance. Outside, he took a deep breath. Did anyone recognize him? Were his clothes bloody? He saw a taxi on the other side of the street, but he dared not cross. Someone might see him from the hotel. He turned away from the building and crossed the street and then doubled back toward the taxi. The beggar was through for the day. He was getting up and moving toward him. He waited a few paces away from the taxi. The beggar passed him. For the first time he got a good look at him. How repulsive. A thin, sallow face, a crooked nose, and red, bloodshot eyes, a dirty, bedraggled beard, and a head covered by a black, patchy skull cap. What did this man have to sing about? And yet he sang all day. The beggar passed him with the expected stench that went with his appearance. He rushed toward the taxi and asked the driver to take him to the Nile, at the place where some boats were moored. Had anyone seen him leave the building? Did anyone notice the glove on the bar? Why was the taxi moving so slowly? The driver was annoying him with meaningless chatter. Isn't that right? Huh? I mean, instead of this madness, I tell myself patience is a virtue. Why doesn't this idiot shut up? What is he saying now? What is he saying anyhow? The banks of the Nile were plunged in darkness. No one would see the glove, the bar, the blood. Rowing at such an hour must surely be strange, but not strange when compared with other things. Now you can get rid of the glove and the bar. Wash your hands carefully in the muddy Nile waters. He suddenly felt exhausted. He let the boat drift with the current. Nothing on shore was worthwhile. How pleasant it was just to drift with the tide. The eyes and their look, the cry, these could never be forgotten. The beggar's eyes, did they issue forth tears or blood? Nothing mattered now, not even the search for his supposed father. But where are you drifting? Suddenly a piercing blast woke him from his trance. A river steamer passed within inches of him. His boat rocked violently in its wake. He took the oars and rowed back to the mooring place. The sky was pitch black. Not a star in sight. He suddenly shivered, and for the first time that evening felt the winter cold. He walked along the island briskly to keep warm. It happened while he was crossing the Qasr el Nil bridge. A large sedan was sitting at the traffic light. A man sat at the wheel, dignified and obviously well to do. That face. Was it possible? The light turned and the car moved. Sayyid al Rahimi. The cry rent the cold night air. He chased after the car, running like a maniac, but the car sped on and disappeared from sight. He stopped running, gasping for breath. It was him, Rahimi. After 30 years, he didn't even get the car's number. What was the use now? How could he trust his eyes if he didn't even feel the cold? His senses had deserted him. Rahimi meant nothing to him now. His only hope lay in Karima. She must be awake now, thinking. A strong bond held them, and yet how he wished to see Ilham and confess. The clock in the square showed midnight. He decided to return to the hotel. What a hateful prospect. He shuddered as he passed the building next to the hotel. He remembered the repulsive beggar and wondered where to seek refuge. Sawi, the doorman, was sitting in Khalil's chair. He was still awake. Sabir dared not enter, but to go out again might raise suspicions. You look exhausted, Sawi said. It's very cold outside, he said cautiously. She rang again, the doorman said with a knowing smile. Who? You know best. Ilham. Cowardly, just like Rahimi. Your city offers nothing but problems, he said bitterly. Life is nothing but problems. Any news? He realized Sawi was asking about his search. I'll look for him tomorrow, at the cemetery. He nodded and went up the stairs to his room number 13.